Hey, good morning. I was thinking I really need an intro or something or some kind of catchphrase because I'm always like, hey. But, anyways, today is one of those miscellaneous videos I wanted to share with you all. I was thinking about this last night as I was looking through my library and thinking about, some of the books I wanted to get on my next kind of TBR list as I'm making my way through some of my recent TBR list. And I started realizing, I read a lot of series, a lot of returning characters, and I thought, that would be probably an interesting video is to give you kind of some of my top, fictional characters that I like to read and, which author writes them and what the books are, the series. So this is it. I actually came up with a list of 10. So this is a top 10 of my favorite fictional characters. And there's a lot of different genres represented here, from fantasy to fiction to thriller to, that kind of thing. So kind of police procedural in some aspects, but a lot of thriller, a lot of fantasy where you get, repetitive characters that are in a series. So with that being said, I will kick it off. First one is Wild. He is a character and has been in two books by Harlan Coben, which is The Boy from the Woods and The Match. I read both of these books from Harlan Coben. Harlan Coben is kind of a hit and miss writer for me. Sometimes his books are really good. He's that really thriller writer, and some of them are kind of okay. I really liked Wild and his character. If you've had a chance to check out these books, I think you'll agree he's a pretty interesting character. Second is kind of a duo. It's Kid and Lucas Davenport. Obviously, I have a ton of John Sanford books, and he writes both of these series, the Davenport series and the Kid series, and there's some crossover. Later today I'll probably have a book review of Extreme Prey, which I'm almost done with, and there's Kid again plays a small role, is mentioned in these books. Even though it's a Lucas Davenport story. So I kind of like that crossover. Next, we have Harry Dresden. Those are in the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. Fantastic character. I really love where that series has gone and his character has evolved over the 17 books that are out. I really enjoy reading Dresden Files. Next, we have Logan Ninefingers. He is from the First Law trilogy, The First Law World by Joe Abercrombie. He is an interesting character. I took the plunge and tried to read Joe Abercrombie, I think it was 2, maybe 3 years ago, and I was like, why did I wait so long to read these? These are fantastic. Joe Abercrombie, if you don't know, it's a fantasy writer, but probably in the subgenre of grimdark. So the books are bloody, unapologetic, brutal, and sometimes you need to step away from the other books and read something like that. And I have loved those books. I cannot wait to reread them. They are dense books, but they're so enjoyable. Next, we have another duo is the Matthew Scudder and John Keller. Those are two series written by Lawrence Block. Again, I'm reading the first book in the John Keller series as a reread, which is Hitman. I'm making my way through all the Scudder books. I think there's 18 of them, and then a couple, novellas and one-offs. I'm on, I believe, book 7 or 8, and so I'm really enjoying Matthew Scudder. Some of the books are okay. Some of the books are really good. Again, as you can see, I gravitate towards these series where you have the evolution of the character and side characters, and I really enjoy both of those. Up next, we have Aloysius Pendergast. Everyone calls him Agent Pendergast because no one can really get his first name correctly, and I'm one of them. But he is a returning character in the Pendergast series by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. He's an FBI agent down in Louisiana, or from Louisiana, always getting into mysterious cases. Very cultural, has a huge family dynamic, wealthy, doesn't really take a salary. FBI kind of uses him in specialized things. Very intelligent, very good supporting cast, from Constance to this butler to all the Rin from the library. I mean, all these characters that support him. He's a definitely interesting character. And some of the books, especially the last book that I read in the series that ended on a kind of cliffhanger, they're really good. At one point I had some of the mass market paperbacks, but I don't have them anymore. It's probably one of those things down the road in 5 or 10 years I'll probably want to reread them again, and I'll get them. You can find them pretty easily. Next we have Drizzt Do'Urden. That is from the Drizzt series, Forgotten Realms by R.A. Salvatore. I've read, there's about 40 books out in the Drizzt world, and I've read probably, I think the last time I was kind of making my way through, I was on book 14. It's a very interesting series. They're easy reads in the sense, and I really like the inflection that Drizzt has in some of the books where he thinks about, where he's came from and how he's adapting to the surface world and his Katie Bree, and it's an interesting kind of character arc, and I really enjoy him. The battles and the scenes are really, really good. It's a good fantasy series. Next we have Jack Reacher, Lee Child, and this is a favorite of mine. Jack Reacher is definitely one of my favorite characters. Lee Child does a really good job. The Reacher series is definitely, I have the books over here, is one of my favorites. I'm not a huge fan of the last couple because he has kind of co-written them with Andrew Child, which I can't remember in my research if it's his brother or brother-in-law. Well, it would be his brother-in-law because they have the same last name, but I think it's his brother. But I listened to the first of the three that he's co-wrote, and I didn't like it on Audible. I actually returned the book because I was like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I do have them in physical form, and I do want to try to read them. They're the only 3 books I haven't read in the series, and of like 24 or whatever that's out. So I definitely want to finish them, but it's one of those things, again, I'm taking my time. I do love the fact, as a little aside, I do love the first 2 seasons of Reacher on Prime. Alan Ritchson, I think is his name, that plays Jack Reacher, is such a good Jack Reacher because Tom Cruise was terrible. And so I won't get into much more of that. But anyways, if you haven't checked that out on Prime and you're a Prime member, the Reacher series is really good there. And they're based on 2 really good Reacher books. Next, I have another kind of duo. It's from Stephen King. I was thinking about this, and there's definitely some characters. I would preface and say that I would have had Holly on here, Holly Gibney, but the last book just was such a turnoff for me. Again, it's the only book that I do not own of Stephen King's library. I read it, but I hated it, and I really hated it for the fact that he really did Holly dirty with how he wrote that book. But anyways, I digress. My pick for a returning character in Stephen King's library, and I was going to go with the kind of, there's Roland, or there's Eddie, or there's Jake, or Susanna. I didn't go that route. I mean, Dark Tower is its own kind of thing, in my opinion, and I felt like picking one of those characters would be disrespectful. I went with another kind of duo book, and characters, and again I went with 2 characters because I just really couldn't pick one, but I went with Traveling Jack and Wolf from the Talisman, obviously in Black House for Traveling Jack in both books, but Traveling Jack and the character Wolf in the Talisman, those 2 characters are really good fictional characters. I really enjoyed them. And last but not least, because there's no real particular order here, I have Robert Langdon from the Robert Langdon series by Dan Brown. I really like that character. Smart, kind of, gets himself into his different situations, being a cryptologist and a professor. And the next, I really enjoy that kind of world. And I think Dan Brown does a good job in mixing, interesting characters without an interesting plot and historical pieces and plot elements without being kind of overly where you feel like you're reading something that's, nonfiction. So anyways, those are my kind of favorite characters as of today. I have to preface that as well because, you know, am arching out in some other books. You know, I've gotten some recommendations over the past 6 months, especially since I started doing this on YouTube, and you guys have given me some recommendations, and I have, you know, picked up some books and some different series that I've yet to read. So it may change, you know, in the next 6 months, next 12 months, who knows? But those are some of my favorites. If you haven't read any of these books, I highly recommend them. I think they're all really, really, really well done. But yeah, that's it. I hope you're having a great Friday, and I hope you're enjoying this content. If you are, please like, subscribe, comment, anything. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great day.